If you're a writer or an aspiring writer, you've probably seen those advertisements on YouTube or on different business websites promoting Grammarly, and you may have even downloaded the free product yourself or used the browser extension, and now you might be considering using Grammarly Premium. I know that's something that I kind of decided after a couple of months whether I should look at the premium product. And so today in this review, we're going to look at some of the features of Grammarly Premium and the way it really enhances your writing, not only so that you are a more clear, accurate writer, but also to avoid plagiarism. And along the way, it educates you to become a more succinct, more intelligent writer in any kind of field, whether it's fiction, whether it's for content for a website, whatever it is, you'll find that you're able to improve your writing skills by using Grammarly Premium. So I'm going to go through some of the basics of the premium services that you'll find once you subscribe. Grammarly Premium costs between about $12 a month if you pay for an annual package, up to about $29 a month if you pay month to month. So it's a little bit of a jump in cost depending on how you want to pay for it. But it is definitely, I believe, a tool that is worth using, and I want to show you some of the features that are available once you're using Grammarly Premium. So let's jump in. So the first thing that you'll notice when you use Grammarly Premium is that you have this little fancy blue tag up the top here, which is basically your symbol that you are now a premium user. And if you've used Grammarly before, you'll know that Grammarly stores all your documents that you've uploaded before. You can see I'm a writer, so I have quite a lot of documents here that I've used in the past. And it will also list for previous documents any that you haven't edited, so you can see ones that I have edited versus ones I haven't. But what we're going to do today is upload a new document. And the first thing that will happen when you upload a new document, whether it's a Word document or you can also copy and paste the text, is that you will get in Grammarly Premium a set of goals. Now, some of these goals are actually available in the non-premium version as well, but some are grayed out. And so I want to go through these very briefly, the setting goals process on Grammarly. And this helps you to basically tailor the writing that you're doing, and it will help Grammarly to give you accurate suggestions. So you can see here the different audiences: general, knowledgeable, expert. I tend to keep it on knowledgeable just because I feel like that's a good middle ground there. The formality, I like to keep it neutral, but you can go more formal if it's for different types of content that you're writing, or more informal if maybe you're writing a letter or an email to someone. The domain is one of the areas where it is a little bit different depending on whether you've got premium or just the regular Grammarly. For instance, the academic and I believe the technical language type of setting isn't available unless you've got the premium setting. But we'll keep it on general. Then you have tone. You have all these different types of tone. I always try to sound confident, so I put that there. And then, of course, you have the intent. Are you going to inform, describe, convince, or tell a story? So in this instance, I'm writing something about plagiarism. Okay, it's an article that we're working on. So I'm going to say inform. Press done, and then you'll notice that Grammarly goes to work. And over on the right-hand side here, you'll see that it's calculating. It will give me an overall score. And this is really cool because as you work through the document, you'll find that Grammarly is very friendly and easy to use, and this score goes up. So it's a little bit of a gamification thing that they do, and it makes you feel like you're making progress. You'll also see that I have 83 alerts here. Now, this is a long piece that I wrote. It's probably about 2,500 words, something like that. So, 2,031 words. There we go. But you'll see if I go to the top that the categories of corrections that are available are just here. Now, some of these will not be available unless you have Grammarly Premium, and I'll go through and show you some of those now. So obvious ones like this, correction, punctuation, they're going to be there. But this in particular is something that's missing from the non-premium version, and that is passive voice. Now, what's really cool about Grammarly is that not only does it say, hey, this is a passive voice mistake, but if you click here on the side, the three dots, it will actually explain what passive voice is and give you examples of how to improve it. So that makes a big difference when you're actually learning to write better. And I've found I've improved my passive voice a lot, even though I clearly still make mistakes. I've improved it a lot just by having this tool. So you can go through here and you can see, correctness again. Things like this is a example of where I might be using the wrong word or overusing a phrase. So vocabulary is another type of improvement that they suggest. And then as you go down, you'll see that there's a lot of different things here. So you can go through, and the nice thing is you can look at them by category as well. So correctness is more your spelling, punctuation. Clarity is when using passive voice, or maybe you're using long winding sentences. Engagement is when you're not using the right words, or maybe you're using overusing words, things like that. And then finally, delivery is more about succinctness or just trying to say things in a better way. So you can see an example here where I said to potentially republish your work at a later date, and Grammarly says to republish your work at a later date potentially. Now that doesn't make exact sense, but you can see obviously it's an AI software, so you can decide whether you want to change that or not. In this instance, I'm going to ignore it and keep what I had, and Grammarly will say, okay, that's an improvement, thanks. Now if I go through and correct all these different mistakes, you'll notice that my overall score begins to climb. And if I click on that, it will give my performance score in a bit more details. So it will show how long it will take to read versus speaking, the readability score, and my vocabulary. Another nice feature of Grammarly Premium is that you can then download this as a report. So if you want basically a hard copy of your Grammarly skills, you can get it here. And I'll show you quickly. It will appear like a little report that looks like this. And it's the same information, but it's now in PDF format, which is kind of nice to have if you want to rate yourself, or maybe you're working with an editor who wants to look at it. And then it has the entire document with all the improvements, which is pretty incredible, really. So that's the downloadable PDF report, and that's linked to the score. Typically, I try to get my score anywhere over about 92 to 95, and that's easy enough to do. You just go through all these Grammarly alerts, and it will really improve the writing. Now, it's not a perfect thing. I have found some mistakes still sneak through, especially when you're writing a long document. It's not always going to be perfect. So you still want to proofread for yourself and not trust that Grammarly is going to do everything. But generally speaking, it's an extremely accurate tool. Grammarly uses about 16 billion web pages for reference, and it also has around 150 different grammatical errors, as we mentioned: clarity, correctness, engagement, and then delivery. So there's all those different categories, and there's 150 different factors that it works on. And I've used it now for several years. It's definitely improved over the years, and I've found that my grammar is getting better as a result, as Grammarly is improving as a tool. So that's something that's really cool. And the other thing that I really like about Grammarly Premium is the fact that you can use the plagiarism tool. So if I come down here on the right, even though I haven't finished correcting this, I'll show you how this works. So if I click the plagiarism tool, it will actually rank or go and rate my work against billions of other pages. Now, as I said, it's over 16 billion pages it's looking at, which is a pretty incredible number. And you'll see it will take a couple of minutes, but eventually it will come back and tell me if I have plagiarized any of this content. Now, obviously, sometimes plagiarism is accidental. It's not deliberate, so it's not like we're intentionally doing it. But you'll notice sometimes, there we go. I've copied and pasted something out of a previous document that I've written, probably for a note. And now it's saying this is the exact kind of phrase. Now, this document is very highly plagiarized. Okay, this was deliberately done. So you can see there, this is actually something that's published on the web. And this document is basically the draft version. So Grammarly has picked that up and now can see that it's plagiarized. It's also found another little section here that I plagiarized from another site. Now this is probably a accidental plagiarism. So there I would just want to change the wording of that phrase, or maybe it's not even a big deal. If it's just a 1% plagiarism, that's not a huge issue. But still, it's nice to know that. And you can see the plagiarism tool is very extensive. You can see how much of this document was plagiarized, and it will also save you problems in the future if you're an essay writer, say a student, or if you're doing content for a particular website. This will really save you because you know your work is original and it's not plagiarized. Another cool benefit of Grammarly, obviously, is that it's compatible with a lot of different formats. So, things like Windows, Mac, Chrome, Firefox, Safari. There's also Word and Outlook extensions, and now Google Docs has a beta version as well. Some of the features of Grammarly Premium do not work inside of Google Docs, unfortunately, as yet. So you do still have to copy and paste the document into the app or into your desktop version. But it is a useful tool to have as you're going, because it tends to correct your work, and it speeds up the amount of corrections you have to do in the app itself. So that's a great tool. The Chrome and Firefox extension, which I can show you here on my screen, is a really simple thing. And anytime that you're using regular, whether it's an email, it's a website where you're writing content, maybe it's on social media, you can also get huge benefit from using Grammarly in that way. So the final thing that I want to show you is another tool that is available to you. Let's say you've finished, proofreading your document, you've done all the Grammarly suggestions, and then you want to go into it and you want to get a human to actually proofread. Grammarly provides this service for you. So here's a blog that I wrote earlier, and I ended up getting the Grammarly score up to 99. You can see here. So it's still got a couple of little things, but it's basically ready. Now if I want to get expert writing help, I can get a human proofreader to read over it for me and to show me how it works. So here it is here, and it will give you a quote. Now, the cool thing is they will quote depending on the time it will take for them to get a human to actually read this. So I've got correctness, and I've got correctness and clarity. Now, correctness only takes 53 minutes, whereas correctness and clarity, you can see, takes a little bit longer, and they charge by the word. So 99 cents a word 0.099 cents a word takes 3 days. 24 hours takes is a little bit more expensive. It's 0.109 cents a word. So it's still reasonably affordable considering it's a human doing the proofreading for you. But the nice thing is, if I want to do that, I can do it from directly inside Grammarly. It will charge my credit card and off you go from there. So the human proofreading tool is great if you have something that's really important that you just want to make sure it's a well laid out document that's clear and it's concise and it's working for you. So those are some of the pros of Grammarly Premium that I've seen, alongside, obviously the other tools that you have as part of the free package, the plagiarism checker, the extra correctness tools that you can find in there, the extra goals, the fact that you can download reports, and then finally having access to all the different platforms. Those are all really cool features that are part of the premium package that I think are well worth looking at. Next, we'll have a look at some of the cons that are part of Grammarly and the premium package, and we'll talk about those. Okay, so now let's have a look at some of the cons of Grammarly and Grammarly Premium. Now, if you've been on our website before, you've probably noticed that we have reviewed many different writing software tools, and we rate Grammarly as the #1 grammar, punctuation, and plagiarism checker out there, but there are some downsides to the tool which we have to be honest about. So let's have a look at them now, and there's only a couple, but I want to explain why I think that they're cons and how they might change your decision about purchasing Grammarly Premium. So the first con is that the free version of Grammarly is somewhat limited. Now, this isn't to say that it isn't a good tool. If you've been using it already, as part of the browser extension or the web-based app or the desktop app, you've probably noticed that it does really help, particularly with spelling and basic grammar and punctuation. But you've probably also noticed that every time you go through your document and you get to the end, there's this little section where it shows that there's more errors that can be corrected that are not actually shown as part of the free version. Now, this is kind of annoying. Obviously, it's a brilliant marketing tactic for Grammarly themselves because they make you want to upgrade to the premium version to see all these extra different errors that you've made. And to be honest, that's how they got me as a customer. So it's a clever marketing tactic. But it is kind of annoying when you're just wanting to use the free version that every time you use the tool, they keep reminding you that there is a premium version and that it's available. And of course, you can just upgrade to the premium version directly inside the web extension or the desktop version. It's very easy to do, and you can see all the payment plans and everything right there. So it is a bit of a drawback that the grammar checking tools are limited, and of course, things like plagiarism and different things like that aren't available if you aren't a premium member. The second con is word limits. Now, for most typical writers out there, this probably won't be a big deal, but if you work as part of a business where you do large documents, say maybe contracts, or maybe you're a novelist or something like that, or maybe you just write a lot, there are limits to how much you can grammar check and plagiarism check with Grammarly per 30 days. The limits are very high. It's 300 documents or 150,000 words. So typically a novel is around 60,000 words. That gives you an idea of how many words you would have to be checking to actually reach the limit, but it is there, whereas other tools don't have those word limits. So if you are in a business or you are a writer who does a lot of writing, maybe it's something that could hold you back. But for most people, it's not a huge problem, but it is still a con of Grammarly. The third con is that Grammarly Premium only supports English. Now, if you are writing in different languages, maybe you're translating, or maybe you have English as your second language as a student or something like that, you aren't quite as confident with the English language, Grammarly isn't going to be able to help you there. It does support American, British, and Australian English, which is great for someone like me being from Australia, but for most users, who aren't native English speakers, it's not going to be as useful. There are other tools like Ginger and White Smoke, which offer different grammar and spelling and punctuation checkers for up to 55 languages. So for those of you who are considering writing in different languages, they may be better alternatives than Grammarly at the moment. And the final con for Grammarly is the price. Now, if you're just wanting to test out Grammarly Premium for a month, then that's going to set you back $29 just for that 30-day period, which is pretty expensive for any writing and software tool. When you look at things like Hemingway or Scrivener, which which you can buy a license for almost $50, or maybe even Pro Writing Aid, where you can buy a lifetime license for a couple of hundred. Paying $29 a month is a lot of money for a software tool that you don't own. However, of course, Grammarly has an incentive. If you want to look at doing a quarterly or an annual plan, you'll save a lot of money. And particularly if you're willing to pay upfront for a year's subscription to Grammarly, you can get the monthly fee down to as low as $12. Grammarly periodically also have discounts that they offer. So if you sign up for their newsletter, you might find that you get a 20% or sometimes a 40%. I've even seen a 55% offer off for a year's subscription. So that can be another way to kind of cut the cost of Grammarly if you're willing to wait to get the premium version. Sometimes they do offer those specials and incentives. So the cost is prohibitive in the beginning, especially if you're not sure if Grammarly Premium is for you, because to get the reasonable cost, you have to commit to a whole year of subscription, which is a lot. But at the same time, I believe that if you're serious about your writing and you want to improve, it's an investment. And if you are a professional writer, you can also that's an expense for your tax. So there is that benefit as well of subscribing to Grammarly Premium. In conclusion, it's pretty obvious that we like Grammarly Premium. We've compared it to 10 other writing software tools, and it comes out number one above all. It's great at grammar checking, plagiarism checking. It has the benefit of having human proofreaders if you need that. It's very easy to use and it's very user-friendly. So there's a lot of benefits there, but I think the biggest one for me personally is that Grammarly Premium has made me a better writer, in that the more I've used the tool and I've read the explanations of different things like passive voice or run-on sentences or things like that, I've actually consciously noticed my writing getting better because I've been aware of those problems as I'm writing. So when I'm doing the grammar checking, my score is naturally higher every time. So Grammarly is kind of like having your own writing coach in a virtual or an AI format. It is a great tool. It's been around a long time now. The company itself has been around 10 years and they are constantly getting better. So if you're just jumping on board Grammarly Premium right now, it's probably the best time ever to actually, get a copy of the tool and to try it out for yourself. But it's up to you what you would like to do. If you only have the budget to try it for a month or a quarter, it's well worth trying. And if not, you can always use the free versions or the browser extension to see what you can get just from the free tool. So that's our Grammarly Premium review. Hopefully that's helpful for you. If you have questions or comments, please leave them below and we'll be happy to answer them. And happy writing.